The battle at the Castle Camelot was like nothing that had ever occurred in scale and intensity. Never had such evil and terrible beasts assaulted the great fortifications. Yet a moment of relief was provided as the royal knights and Kingsguard seemed to be getting the upper hand. Arthur, the king astride his powerful mount, felt the tide begin to turn in their favour, and rounded his powerful steed to hail the wizard.
"Merlin, we will be victorious yet this night. We are driving them back,"
the king shouted as he proceeded to direct his knights for the final defence. Just at this moment, the old wizard felt a black dread descend upon him, one he had not sensed in many years. Something of the deepest malevolence was inside the castle. Looking directly to the eerie tower where the king's son lay, he knew in an instant that the baby was in mortal danger.
"Arthur, the baby, your son, the tower! We have been fooled! This attack, it was just a diversion. We must go!"
He shouted as he wheeled his warhorse Arakor around for a lightning-fast sprint to the tower to save the heir. Arthur raged.
"No, this cannot be! My son!"
As he whirled his horse to follow the wizard. The knights beside the king tried to follow, but were ordered to hold the ground and support the defence.
"Hold the breach!"
Merlin shouted as he swiftly rode through the city toward the higher castle above. Camelot could not afford any further weakness at the walls. They must do this alone. The war horses of Arthur and Merlin devoured the distance to the tower in amazing strides. Their charges leaned against their necks as they raced along the lower walls to the highest tower above. Just as they both rounded the corner to the uppermost ramparts, both brave horses came to an abrupt halt, flailing back on their hind legs. Something out of a nightmare stood in front of them, blocking their path.
"Dragos gigantes,"
the wizard breathed out loud in utter disbelief, looking at the two towering humanoid beasts in front of them, filling the narrow street and towering above the two-story buildings on each side.
"What in the name of Avalon are those?"
Arthur yelled as he tried to control his mount.
"Dragon giants."
Merlin gasped as he drew a shape in the sky to renew his magical protection. He muttered an incantation that only he and things best left unknown to mortal men could understand. The wizard's magical whispers went unheard as the two giants, covered from top to bottom in hair and scars, roared. In unison, they took a massive stride forward and slammed their clubs the size of oak trees against the road, crushing the cobblestones beneath them into blackened sand.
"Giants! By the gods, Merlin, but this is a thing of myth and legend. Now, here inside my walls?"
bellowed the king.
"This land has not seen such beast in an eon."
He lowered the protective face shield of his helm once again, and drew Excalibur from its sheath. All manner of wonder filled the world of Camelot, but giants like these were only legend, even to the great King Arthur. Without a thought to possible consequences, he prepared to charge the two monsters towering high above them.
"With the power of Excalibur, my ancestors and kings before me, I banish you from my lands. Today you will feel the blade of death. Today you die."
The king roared as he prepared to charge the beasts.
"No, my king!"
shouted Merlin the sorcerer, briefly blocking the king with his own warhorse.
"You must save your child. Go to the tower. I will deal with these two troublemakers,"
the wizard urged. The king paused for just an instant before wheeling to the right to circumvent the giants. As he turned, he ordered, "Merlin, defender of the ages, my friend and companion, protect my walls. Save my city. I ride to save my son." With that, Arthur was gone in a gallop, down a side alley to avoid the giants before them. The dragon giants, fearsome powerhouses as tall as the surrounding two-story ramparts, paused, both confused and infuriated at the king's sudden departure. Not to be deterred for long, they immediately began to advance on the pesky wizard. Second-story balconies and clay roofing tiles crashed around them as they lumbered toward their prey, their shoulders smashing against the buildings as they come down the street toward the wizard. Sliding from his mount and stepping fearlessly toward them, the enchanter raised his arms and shouted to the giants now closing the distance rapidly.
Legend came to call today, barbarians at the gates, with all the power bestowed to me. In death, I seal your fate. Astasta Midia!
With that, twin showers of magic-infused flames erupted from his arms. They struck the giants simultaneously, engulfing them with burning, searing flames just as their clubs descended in jewel-crushing blows. Still, even as they died in a towering inferno, one of the giant's clubs fell directly upon the wizard in a cloud of ash and smoke and debris that filled the street in an explosion of sound and light. When the smoke cleared, a blue magical protective dome could slowly be seen. Inside this blue force field, Merlin, the great enchanter, stood protected. As he opened his eyes and dropped his arms, the force field that had saved him from the giant's final blow evaporated, and the smell of burning giant flesh struck him.
Good God, that is horrid,
he said as he summoned his steed and made haste to follow where Arthur had gone. He hoped he would not be too late. These giants were no accident. They had been placed here to delay him, but from what he could not yet know. Leaning against his great warhorse, he drove toward the high tower with a shout,
"Ride like the wind, Aracor! Ride like the winds of time!"
And with a thunder of hooves, he strived to close the distance to the inner castle far above. He must reach the tower, help the king, and save the babe.